Hello, welcome. Today I'm going to be sculpting a Lego minifig. I have a model sheet that I'll use as my reference. I also have a little Spider-Man minifig on my desk that I'm going to look at. So here's my model sheet. I'm bringing in a cylinder. I will pinch and zoom to align that with the front-facing head. So I really only need, two shapes here to set up my camera. So I'm setting up a torso as well. This will help align both the front and side view cameras. So here I'm saving the front view camera. And now when I rotate to the side, I can use the top of the head and the bottom of the torso to guide me. And there's the side camera that I'm setting up. And now I'm going to just do a little bit of resizing for the torso. I've cloned that. I'm going to use that same piece for the waist. And then if you're working from a reference image, front and side cameras are pretty essential. So I've cloned it one more time. I'm going to make the leg here. And you can see I'm just toggling back and forth, getting the widths right on each view. Cloned again so I can make the foot. And then I'll bring in a cylinder for the top of the leg. So I have snap turned on so that snap in 90 degrees so that I just have to pull it down once and get a perfect 90-degree rotation. Here I've turned on the wireframe. I'm trying to find the center of that cylinder. And then you'll see when I zoom in here, I want that center of the cylinder to sit right on top of that box. And then here I'm just trying to make the cylinder flush with both the sides and the back. You can see the overlapping wireframe. That's a good indication that you've got a flush edge. So here I am just doing it on all sides. And that'll save me all the work of smoothing when I voxel remesh those. So I'm going to grab all these leg objects and put them in a group. I'm notoriously bad about naming my objects when I bring them in, so I usually spend a lot of my time hiding and unhiding cylinders and boxes trying to figure out what is what. I cloned one of the cylinders from the legs and made it the crotch piece that sits between the two legs here. So here I'm taking the torso and I'm lowering the topology down to 0. That gives my box only 6 sides, 6 faces, and 8 vertices. And now I'll use the select mask tool to pin the 4 vertices on the top. And then I'll use the gizmo tool to flare out the bottom of the torso. This is a great process for hard surface modeling. So I'm going to move on, start making the neck and the top peg. So I'm cloning the cylinder, resizing for the neck. And I'm going to sit this cylinder right on top of the torso. Cloned again, and I'll make the top peg. And the top peg has a hole in it, so I'll punch a hole in there. And then now I'm just trying to find the right thickness. I kept looking at my Spider-Man minifig just to sort of eyeball these things. So now I need to round out the head. So I'm going to use a masking trick here. I'm making sure that I use center. So I have centered and circle. I'm going to pull out. So anything I'm masking here will be untouched. So I don't deform these areas. I want these to be completely untouched as I do the rounding for the head. So here you're going to see I'm going to turn on symmetry. And I'm going to use this Dave Reed smooth edge tool, and I'll link that in the description. So here I'm turning on the X, Y, and Z planes, turning the radials up to 5. And then I'm going to turn the method on for local. And if you're like, I don't have the smooth edge tool, check the link in the description. Dave Reed created this tool he cloned the smooth tool and then changed the parameters. So it's sort of, when paired with symmetry, it sort of acts like a Gaussian blur. That's why I love it. That's why I keep doing these symmetry things, these radial blurring. So I've cleared the mask, and now I'm voxel remeshing a lot higher. And I'm going to smooth pass one more time on this head to get rid of the sort of the faceted polygons. I'm trying to be not too particular for the sake of the tutorial, because I want to keep moving, but feel free to, smooth as much as you need. So now I'm joining the remaining head pieces, the peg and the neck, and I'm voxel remeshing them together. And now I'm going to also, I think I make a mistake here. Yep, I didn't voxel remesh. So now I'm going to go back and increase that, because I run a really tight, I want a really tight curve where the peg and the head connect. So that looks good. And now I'm going to move on to the legs. Also voxel remesh these and use the same exact smooth edge with the symmetry. So you'll see me do the same trick. I'm using 4 this time. So remeshed, now I'm going to smooth. And when you use this tool, all you're doing is clicking and dragging outward. So you don't have to do a lot of work. It smooths all sides in a single stroke. So I'm going to Boolean the waist, because there's a sort of channel that's cut out of the waist piece here. So now you can see that channel that I've cut out. I'm not going to join the crotch piece and the waist, but you can. I'm just going to leave it as is. So I'm going to try to smooth this, but I forgot to voxel remesh. So here I am voxel remeshing, and I'll go back and decimate later. So the higher you remesh, the less deformation you'll have to your model. So for the crotch piece, really all I need to do is lower the topology, increase the topology and the parameter value. And then I really don't even have to do any smoothing on this. That's done. So there's some seams. These seams between the legs and the crotch piece were a little too wide. I was looking at my minifig character, and it's very faint. You almost don't notice that there's a seam. So I widened that piece just to sort of match my real minifig. So I've turned off a lot of the body parts, because now I'm going to move in and start modeling the arm. So here's the shoulder, just bringing in, everything is going to be made up of cylinders, spheres, or boxes. So here, making the bicep and shoulder area. Again, just trying to save myself from having to do a lot of smoothing. So I'm trying to align it as best I can. This is really the hardest part of the whole minifig, is this more organic arm shape. So I've cloned that, pulled it down for the forearm. The forearm remains a perfect cylinder, whereas the shoulder and the bicep are, once I join them, will need to be sort of squashed. I think I squash just on the Y direction. And then, so I was going to align it this way, but it was too close to the toolbar, so I ended up moving it over. And trying to think ahead here, I clone the forearm and shrink it down, because I need a wrist, and I want it to be in perfect alignment with the forearm. So, and I believe I end up parenting the wrist to the forearm so that I don't have to worry about all the rotations. So here, just doing my best to do the alignment. So I'm toggling between, I'm toggling the align between local and world. So you can see when the gizmo keeps switching, that's the align toggle. You can switch it. It's super useful. You definitely need world a lot. So looking at my Spider-Man minifig, the forearm is really tight against the torso. It's not completely touching, but it almost appears like it's just rubbing up right against the torso. So I'm extending the forearm because I need as much contact between the bicep and the forearm as possible, because I don't want to end up having gaps that I have to fill in with clay, or, you know, it's just more work. So I'm trying to do as much intersection here. And what I want in the end is really that crease that happens between the bicep and the forearm. So I'll be switching between front and side view here. I've sort of gone into free floating mode because now I know that I just need to figure out how to reduce the shelf area on each piece of the model. I'm not joining these because I don't want the work I do on one affecting the other piece. So no real game plan. I was just trying to create an easier transition for when I start smoothing this. And then I created a gap here. So instead of filling it in with clay, I brought in a sphere, and I'm going to make that the elbow. So I'll just squash this and then use the move tool to sort of drag it around and fill in the hole. It's not pretty, but you know, I'll fix it in post, which is the smoothing post. So I believe I join it at this point. Well, I failed to join it because I forget the elbow. So realizing that and having to go back and join those two. So now they're joined, and I'll try to do a lot of the cleanup of that elbow. So the minifig elbow is really smooth. There's not really an angle to it. It's almost like a perfect curve. So I'm remeshing a lot, realizing I need to go lower and lower if I really want this thing to round out. So here it's starting to come together. I'm just spinning around, obviously looking for if the silhouette of the arm makes sense. Here you can see that swarm of dots. So I'm doing the smooth edge tool again here. And then doing a little bit of smoothing by hand. I just want a little bit of crease. And for the sake of time, I think, you know, I'm going to call it kind of done after this smoothing. Maybe not. So yeah, here I say, yeah, I think that's good enough. Now really all that's left is I need to clone it and make the hands. I still haven't voxel remeshed the torso and smoothed it out yet either. Realizing that I need to turn off all those X, Y, and Z if I'm going to get a proper mirror. Also, I didn't validate the wrist, so I failed trying to mirror that. So I validated, and then here we go. Almost there. So obviously the hand will just be a cylinder with a hole punch through it. But I got a few little tricks on how I cut out the back of the hand because it has this curvature on the back. Not totally sure all the things I'm doing right now. All right, so yeah, realizing I still need to voxel remesh, and I think probably too high of a mesh there. So realizing that pretty quickly that it's not doing a whole lot. I'm going to voxel remesh just a little bit lower. This is the same smoothing process the whole time. I'm using a radial. I think I switched from 5 to 4 because when you use radial X, Y, and Z at 5, you get a warning that it might, you know, that it might tax your system. The processing power is a little taxing on the iPad. So here, I wasn't totally trusting the width of the sort of thickness based on my model sheet. I was trying to look at the minifig that I have here on my desk, and it's a little thinner, but I think I sort of settled on something that might be slightly thicker. And then the hand is very front weighted. There's only a little bit of hand behind the wrist. So I'm making a cube. I'm turning it at 45 degrees. This is how I'm going to create the opening, the cutout of the hand. So I will Boolean this shape and make the opening for the hand. So I think I end up realizing that I might have cut out a little too much. So I'm going to undo and then just lower this box just a tiny bit. Yeah, I mean, very subtle change, but. And now, now I'm going to create this jig for the back of the hand, creates the curvature. So I'm going to take a cylinder and cut that out of a cube. So what I'm turning on the wireframe again because I need to align the cylinder to the top left of this box. At least from the side view, it's the top left. So the vertical middle and the vertical center and the horizontal center align to the top left of the box. And you'll see the shape in just a moment, but it sort of creates this ramp. Just trying to make that alignment. And now I'm going to Boolean subtract the cylinder from the box. And now, obviously too big, but you'll get the idea of what I'm doing here. I just need to turn off some of my geometry so I can see this better. So turning off the legs. So yeah, there is a curvature on the back of the hand that I'm trying to use my little, my template, my jig. And I will Boolean the hand so that I can get that. I don't, there's probably some people who would be totally comfortable using the trim tool with the lasso or the path tool and making this cut. But when I start getting into things that are so symmetrically perfect, I don't want to start winging it and doing like freehand trims. So I try to do everything based on some perfectly angled 90 degree or 45 degree angled thing. I need to trim away that piece of the wrist. I'll just do a quick trim. And now I'm joining the wrist and I'm going to smooth out. Also, I'm realizing that my hand isn't really centered and I need to rotate it just a bit to be accurate. And now I can join the two and I'm voxel remeshing high. And then same trick, you can see I'm using 4 on all the radials, local, and then smooth edge. If you didn't hear it before, look in the description. I will link to Dave Reed's tutorial on how to make the smooth edge tool. It is not a Nomad update. It's just you can clone any tool and make changes to the parameters, and that's what Dave did. He also credits ProcreateFX, I believe, for helping him. So I'm just doing a victory lap here. This is totally done now. I realize that it's not 100% accurate. There's no peg holes on the back of the leg or no square holes under the feet. But I do want to do a part 2 of this where I paint, I paint my minifig maybe in Procreate. So maybe at the start of that video, I can do the back legs or do the leg cutouts. Anyways, thank you for watching. Keep modeling, and I'll see you next time.